What a beautiful sunny day in Amsterdam. Welcome everyone to the first episode of 2025. I'm joined here by Jeroen Paling, fellow photographer. And we actually know each other for quite some time, a few years, not that well, through a friend. And he actually recommended, I think you should talk to Jeroen about good place, about living somewhere. And I was intrigued, so I want to know more. So this is the perfect way to kick off this conversation, which is a conversation about place, about life. Jeroen, how are you feeling today?
Yeah, really well. It's finally a nice day with some sunshine, and meeting you in a situation like this is really very nice. Yeah, really well.
Where are we today?
We're in on a little square in Amsterdam, in the west of Amsterdam, just under Sloterdijk. And it's like a little village. So we have houses all around, and it's a really safe environment, especially for children to play.
Are they all watching now, you think?
No, the children have gone to school.
The parents are?
Yeah, and the parents have either gone to work or they're working from home or something like that.
Yeah,
But
okay.
especially during spring and summer, this is like an explosion of life.
And in such a tight-knit community, are people conscious about what's happening in their neighborhood? They keep an eye out for each other?
It is like that, yeah.
They're probably going to ask you, what did you do? What did you do this morning on a bench talking to someone?
What was that all about? Cameras and microphones. You seem to be always doing stuff with photography. What's the project now? yeah, definitely.
Tell us a little bit, Jeroen, for everyone watching and listening. Tell us a bit more about you. Like, have you always lived there? Where are you from? What do you do?
I have not lived here all my life. Definitely not. I've lived here now, I think, for 18 years in Amsterdam.
Mm-hmm.
Not always here. This has been my neighborhood for the past 10 years. But my life began in Kenya. I was born there and raised there until I was 2. Then I moved to Rwanda, moved there for another 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where my parents divorced in a rather nasty way. So my mother forced custody of my father, and the judge decided we would be raised with our mother.
Mm-hmm.
And that was in the Netherlands. So after a so-called vechtscheiding, there was a lot of mutual legal aggression going on between these two.
Okay.
My father moved back to Kenya, and so my mother went back to the Netherlands. So we had sort of a joint life. So most of the year we would live in the Netherlands, and 2 months to 3 months per year we would go to Kenya with my sister.
Oh, well.
So we maintained that for a few years until my mother met my stepfather. So he still is my stepfather.
Mm-hmm.
It was when I was 7, an English fellow who was my mother's messiah. Really, it was like that. She was looking for the sort of the depths that my father didn't give her, and she found that in him. So she was over the moon, and they had this relationship of student and teacher somehow, and they still have. That's another story.
Okay.
That's another story. Yeah.
Student teacher. Okay.
So
But they're happy together.
Yes.
We can cut that out.
But from my 7th onwards, we we lived in the UK,
Okay.
so we carried on the process of living in two parallel worlds until I was 13. So the UK most of the year, and 2 to 3 months in Kenya the rest of the year.
Wow.
But somehow, maybe it was written in the stars. I don't know. When I was 12 or 13, around that area, both parents decided to come and live in the Netherlands. Not simultaneously, because these people really don't match well at all. And my father went to live in near Utrecht in Houten, and my mother decided to live in Vrouwenpolder, which is Zeeland.
Okay.
And yeah,
What do you want to say?
that was ghastly. That was awful. Seriously awful.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Because they're as a young starting teenager, I didn't know what they were talking about. I'd never seen Goede Tijden, Slechte Tijden. I didn't know how to dress. I could hardly speak Dutch because my accent was really bad, and my grammar was awful. It was really appalling. But then I had to sort of move into this flow of school, social, acceptance, and it just went haywire completely. So
Which age was this?
13, 14.
13, 14.
Yeah.
Which is also a difficult age, right? To
Yeah,
go through that,
it is. In any case, a difficult age,
Yeah.
and
sure.
and for me, it was really
Identity.
yeah. And then we had this racial thing going on, really unbelievable. My father, in the meantime, had remarried as well. The lady who took care of us mostly in Rwanda, they fell in love together, and she became his new wife, with whom he had two new children, two new half brothers, which are now also living in Houten. And so they're half Rwandese and half Dutch. But they've been raised Dutch in such a way, they're unbelievably Dutch. You cannot imagine. I mean, they don't look it, but
Wow. Yeah.
really, it's yeah. But sort of having this normality of a multi sort of ethnic background, I didn't know what the Zeeuwish racism was all about. I just didn't understand.
You're not colored.
I mean,
Nothing.
no, they're not, but the amount of racism going on in Zeeland is just unbelievable, and the jokes and and of course also towards me, as soon as I'd open my mouth, they'd hear I wasn't Zeeuwish, so I don't know.
You were not one of them.
No. It was really a difficult place for me to grow up. So I started looking for my group identity. So I started, dressing like either metalhead or a gobber or and
Extreme.
quite extreme. And at my 19th, I with a bit of help from my parents or my mother, I went traveling when I was 19. So I went to the Middle East. So that's when I really sort of made a cut with Zeeland. Yeah. It was also a period when I started discovering real friendship, and that was such an eye opener.
In the Middle East.
Yeah. I met fellow travelers, met people who were also looking for themselves or breaking away from something, or and this was just unbelievable. It was so nice to meet people that you could actually talk to and relate to, and after a while even be a bit vulnerable, and nobody would laugh at you. It was amazing, and you could choose to be them. You weren't sort of destined to be with them. Like You were destined to be with the people you are in Zeeland, but you could just choose to be with them, and they would choose to be with you and with me. And I was like, wow, man, this is friendship. It's so, it really is something so special. So I spent about a year traveling in the Middle East, and then I came back to Zeeland, and then really I couldn't live there anymore. So I just tried to leave as quickly as I could. So I'm back to the UK. Went to a small international school in the southwest of England, called Brockwood Park, and it's a small international school raised by a philosopher called Krishnamurti. And there were all these amazing things going on, which you could just sort of latch on and say, okay, I want to do some singing. I want to do arts and crafts. I want to do mathematics. And that's when I found a dark room. And it had these two amazing enlargers and all these chemicals lined up and cameras. And there was just nobody there. Nobody was doing anything with this thing. I was like, wow.
It was just lying there.
Unbelievable. In this beautiful country environment, in this sort of barn which has been created for arts and crafts, and I felt I just hit the jackpot. This is, and then I started developing stuff and seeing how the magic happened from a negative in the developer. Boom! Suddenly these images would come up, and that's when I really thought, this is just amazing. But in the meantime, I'd been thinking for years, what am I going to do with my life? What am I going to be? And I just didn't have a clue. I still didn't have a clue. I just thought this was amazing. During this year, a couple of things sort of happened that really drew me into this photography field. Like, for example, an exhibition I saw in the Tate Gallery of Henri Cartier-Bresson, and I thought, if this is possible with a camera, this is what I want to be doing. This is just so nice.
Life.
Yeah.
He captures life in the streets in a way. Wow.
And the movement he created with his images, that the inspiration, but also the legacy he created by doing this, really unbelievable. And this guy I was living with it was a Syrian French, quite a rich kid, but a really nice guy. And his father said, "Oh, you like photography? Here, I give you a camera." So he had this Leica M6, and I was holding this Leica. I was, wow, this, and this dark room and the these images I'd just been seeing in the Tate Modern, and I was like, okay, this is it. I'm going to become a photographer. This is just, I want to be dealing with this for the rest of my life. But how am I going to do this? How am I going to make money? How am I going to? I had no idea. But I also fell in love. So one of the courses I did was ballroom dancing. I'm seriously bad at ballroom dancing. I don't have a feeling for rhythm.
Yeah, it's on record now.
It was on record for a lot of people already.
Okay. It's nothing new.
No, not at all. Well, my feeling for rhythm is just hopeless. But I really love music, and I was able to enjoy this with this girl, and I fell in love quite madly. And she was German. She still is.
And she's still here?
No. She was going to stop at the end of the year, and so was I. Yeah. And what to do? Oh, well, I have nothing better to do than go do something with photography. I joined her.
Nice.
So I did. She lived close to Munich in Tutzing. Okay. Maybe you know.
Yeah, definitely.
and this went completely haywire. We were far too young, and the weight of this expectation of me moving there and us having a relationship, and it was really too much. So she stopped it. Yeah, that was really nasty. But I thought, well, you can maybe stop one part of my dream, but the other one, which is photography,
Continue.
I'm going to continue it. So I went and did an intern experience with a German photographer in Taufkirchen. My God, this guy was so boring, but he was really he was virtuous in his technique. So on 4x5 inch, he'd be photographing the most boring stuff, but it looked like you would when you see it, which in essence is really quite something. Everything's on analog, everything's photographed on slide, and he had about 40 different color filters he would use just on one exposure. It was really quite something. But yeah, I really also decided then and there I really need to go to art school. But like I just mentioned before, my schooling career prior to traveling in the Middle East, prior to Brockwood, I was hopeless. I had nothing. So I had to sort of go by my charms and my age and a portfolio. And I did. I applied to several art schools, and I got accepted.
Here in the Netherlands.
Here in the Netherlands. Which was an interesting...
Wait, you can hold it 1 second.
Oh.
Here you go. 1 second.
Yeah. Everything good?
Yeah.
It was looking back, I can say it was an interesting realization that also photography, which would seem like a universal visual language, is very culturally bound, and something I really didn't realize when I started studying in Den Haag. Because
you went to the Royal Academy, The Hague.
Yes,
yeah.
Yes. And really, I was still dealing with this whole cultural thing and belonging, feeling of where am I, and it was quite a tough period as well, and I was trying to use photography to create this search, to point my camera in directions, to sort of experiment to see how I feel, where I belong, and how I resonate with different types of visual language. And they said they were an art school, but they were teaching me how to photograph strawberries, and in best case scenario it would be photographing for Volkskrant magazine. These are the people that made it. But they and I didn't understand them, so I got not really good grades, and I was really doing my best and made amazing stuff, but it just didn't resonate with them. So I decided to start again. So I got my propeduiter, so I had my first real diploma.
Yeah.
And then somebody told me about this art school in Antwerp, and they give philosophy, and they give history, and they give literature. I was like, wow, these are exactly the things I really want right now. Because, like I said, no formal education, but I really was hungry for this type of... So why do people create? Why do people write? What do they see? What do they know? So I started out again, just first year, but my propeduiter certificate gave me entry into the first year. So suddenly I had this, like this little playground of knowledge in a wonderful, beautiful academy from the 17th century or something like that, studying photography. But I mean, we're talking about Flemish study. There was hardly any money. The apparatuses were nothing like at the KBK. So, and they said, well, you've got this head start. Fuck it, just do what you want. So the, it was like a playground 4 years long of just going on this journey
Mhm.
of looking for belonging, looking for dreamscapes, looking for visual language that would somehow maybe help me, but also looking at other photographers. How did they create? What did they show? How did they do it? And in the meantime, I met Brechtje, and we started living together. And
You met Brechtje. Is your
this is my Brechtje. Oh, sorry. Yeah, she is my wife, and I met her when I was 24. No, I was 26. She was 24. So I was in just after my first year into this school or this academy in Antwerp. And it was really an amazing time. Somehow resonates with the time I'm doing now. Sort of, you're working on something, and in the end everything's going to be okay. But the stuff in between is just this search, this adventure of inspiration and necessity, and anyway, I'll get to that later. If I'm monologuing too much, do interrupt.
No, I mean I'm hanging on your lips, as I say, right?
Cool.
But I do. Sorry, I do have something that finding photography, of course, is one thing.
Yeah.
Finding
A home.
your mission with photography as well was
Yeah.
also a journey.
Yeah.
But by then, you've, of course, then met a partner.
Yeah.
Married. But still, you were searching for place, I think.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Because you've been, in the meantime, I've been seeing a lot of different places in life.
Yeah. True. Finding photography and finding a place has been very parallel for me. It's been really sort of this red line which has been determining a lot of decisions. But after art school, I lost it for a while.
Photography or place?
Yes,
Okay.
both.
Okay.
Both. Yeah, I think in an interview like this, it would be fair to also sort of put that into the equation. Over the period of basically from my 15th, 14th, alcohol has been really a red line as well.
Okay.
In a lot of the things I did, and it was easy to mask away as being an artist, as being somebody who's sort of investigating into life. And after I'd finished art school in Antwerp, where could I go? I'd worked so hard. I invested also financially so deeply into this. I had nothing left. What could I do? I didn't know who's going to pay for my photographs because they were all art. They weren't commercially viable. So, the only thing I could do was earn money in the cafe where I'd already been sort of supporting myself for all that time. So it was just one deep plunge into the Amsterdam or the Antwerp night.
Mm-hmm.
And substance use sort of became intertwined with the alcohol use, and it was a fascinating period because I really got to know sort of the underbelly of the city, but it was a really that Brechtje stayed with me during this period. I'm very grateful for that. She must have had so much patience and dedication towards me. It must have been a very trying time.
She been a great support in a
Yeah.
whole journey?
Yeah. And I saw my whole goal or the relevance of this photographic journey I did, but also the sense of belonging became stretched and thin. What was I doing? Where was I? I was in this Belgian place, and everybody would, as soon as they talk to you, "Oh, you're from Holland, aren't you?" "Yeah, well, I'm and a bar now. Ah, yeah. It took months before they would call me by my name or say, "Hey, you're the guy from the Hopper," instead of "Hey, you're the Dutch guy." So breaking through this really gave me a feeling, ironically, of being very Dutch. So I thought, okay, maybe it's time. Maybe it's time to make the big cut and say, now I want to become Dutch. I want to be a Dutch person. And a good friend of mine, whom I met in the first year of the KBK in Den Haag, we've been good friends from that moment on at the KBK. He was witnessing this whole period in Antwerp, and he was living in Amsterdam, and he said, "You're drying up. I need you to come here. Wow. I will prepare stuff for you. I will arrange a house for you. Just come here."
Wow.
Yeah. He really pulled me out.
Wow.
And that's exactly what happened. So here in Amsterdam West, in the Ortelierstraat, close to the Erasmuspark, he arranged an apartment for Brechtje and me and our two little dogs we had at that point. Little cocker spaniels, which was kind of. And this was, like I said, was 18 years ago. And this cut I envisioned was not only a cut for me from becoming a wanderer to a finder, but it was also a cut in substance use. And with a bit of ugly moments here in Amsterdam, it really became clear that the cocaine from Antwerp wasn't really the issue. It was the alcohol, which was always covered in sort of social acceptance, and that was really the issue.
Oh, wow.
So I decided firmly that was enough. So I went to 2 AA meetings and saw how it can develop if you don't treat the monster as you should. And Brechtje was still with me. I still had a house. I still had friends. So, okay, it's time. So I cut that as well. So no more substances, no more alcohol, no. So I've been, I haven't had a drop now for 17 and a half years. That's basically it. Yeah.
Wow. How is it? Just to quickly stick to that, is that, do you always think that had an influence on your work, creatively?
Yes.
Identity?
Sometimes for the better, sometimes for the worse. Because sometimes I'd be sort of on a sort of alcohol high, think, "Oh, this is amazing work! I really become so enthusiastic in the darkroom or on set or something like that. I think, wow!" And then being sober again, I think, what was I so happy about? It's junk. Or showing it to teachers, and they'd go, "So what are you actually trying to say?" I don't know. It's just a still life of my record player or something.
Oh,
wow. So
were you sober photographing, or were you celebrating drunk? Or drunk, or maybe drunk is not the right word.
Yeah, under influence.
Under influence.
Sort of sometimes combinations of stuff.
Or fast forward, ever since you're sober, 17 and a half years, has it cleared a lot of things for you? Creatively, journey.
It's a quantum leap. Seriously, a quantum leap. And if there's anybody with the same monster that gets fed with the first drop of alcohol, there's only one simple recipe, and it clears everything. don't do it. Not one drop. Don't think you've mastered it. Just don't drink. It's as easy as that. And with that easiness, I also knew I needed to get to know myself again, because drinking was always this soft landing that you can create for yourself.
Yeah.
Something you have in the background that will always create a bit of warmth, a bit of safety, something you have for yourself.
Support.
It's a support. It's a friend you will always have, and you can control it yourself. And this controlling that will inevitably lead to lying, to holding back information, to consuming more and more to get the same effect. Like I said, there's only one method: is to never drink a drop.
I had the same thing, but that I think it's a different extent. It's cigarettes.
Yeah.
Always thought that was like, for difficult moments, always your friend. You know. Yeah.
Smoking can definitely have that
Yeah.
effect as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, having come to Amsterdam and really determining this city as a place for a restart, somehow Brechtje had this unwavering faith in me, saying, well, I know you, and once you make a decision like this, that's the decision. And then she was open to have children. And it was a really happy, very adventurous time together. So we were totally not ready, not prepared for this, and we were still in our little house apartment in Bosselommer, and with her. And, I mean,
Are you ever prepared for this?
no, and I really thought, well, there's millions of people have had children before us. I'm sure we're going to manage and sort of make things up as we go along. Let's just do it. Fuck it. And we did. We knew it was from the moment we did it. Boom, she was pregnant, and we had. So there's suddenly this necessity. Okay, we need a house, our house, not something we're going to get kicked out of. So I worked my ass off, and I knew that. And that was another thing. I came to Amsterdam with this idea of becoming this photographer. Well, I wasn't the only one.
There are a lot of photographers.
Unbelievable the amount of people that had come from the Rietveld and all these countless other art schools and all getting this Weewik thing and being in this artist, and there's this whole subculture going on. And I thought, my God,
All like fishing in the same pond.
everybody's fishing in the same pond.
Yeah.
Everyone. So I thought, I really need to do things differently. So I thought, okay, I'm going to park my photography career for now.
Okay.
I need to get a job.
Okay.
So I thought, okay, I can do a little bit of Photoshop. What sort of revolves Photoshop? There we have Illustrator, InDesign. Yeah, I can do that. Do the same sort of icons. I didn't know shit, of course. And then I saw this ad.
Fake it until you make it.
Completely. So this ad on some website, a junior designer wanted. I thought, junior designer sounds good. Let's do it. So I got the job on Wilskracht only, so sort of thing, and I fucked up completely. You're not a designer at all, eh? I said, no, I'm not. I've never designed anything in my life.
Busted. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but you were allowed to stay.
Yeah, I was allowed to say I had my 3 months contract, so they couldn't fire me. So I got an internal a little education thing going on, so I didn't fuck up the ads I needed to make. Worked my ass off, and then after the 3 months, the guy said, "Okay, you suck, but I really think you have a great mentality. Do you want to start a image rights company?" I was like, "Wow, that could be interesting. Sign me up." So from the same rubbish salary I did, I worked my ass off there for sort of consecutive contract periods. But because of that, we were able to buy a house. So that's when our routing started. We started becoming part of this Amsterdam thing.
Can I ask? Sorry to interrupt. There's a lot of things happening in that time period.
Yeah.
So sober, Dutch,
Yep.
being a dad,
Yep.
a designer,
Yep.
a company owner,
Yep.
not so much a photographer.
No.
But yeah, that must have been quite impactful.
Yeah.
Homeowner, sorry.
Homeowner, that as well. Yeah. Yeah. True. No.
How do you feel? I mean, were you feeling excited, stoked, complete happiness, belonging?
Not quite.
Hmm.
Not quite. The belonging, the most belonging part I felt then was getting my son, on the birth of this of him, and experiencing, like you must have experienced yourself as well, is that the most important person in the world gets transferred immediately from me to him.
Mhm.
And this to me was a complete game changer. And of course, I was going to work, being this homeowner, trying to sort of fit into a Dutch culture, trying to sort of speak Dutch properly, write Dutch properly, all these kind of things, trying to fit in. And it was hard, but I knew that this is the recipe that I'd chosen for. Now, yeah. The one thing that wasn't answered well is, what do I do with my photographs? What do I do with my photography? And this was this aching feeling, because this was such a strong red line for me up until that point. And Brechtje knew it as well. She said, "You're dying on the inside. We're making a bit of money. You're on the rise. You're in this landscape that you're in, building quite a name for yourself. But you're not taking photographs." I said, "I know, and I don't know what to do." So I did a terrible thing. When at the beginning of this period, I'd sold my Hasselblad and I sold my Linhof.
Yeah.
To be able to take photographs of my children, because I didn't have a digital camera, and I needed. Suddenly, there was this need for me to take photographs, to record time, and to record the way that he was developing. So I sold this immaculate equipment for some rubbishy digital shit, but somehow it did. It was the start of the first little spark of where I stand now. Because for the first time in my life, people started saying, "That's a nice picture." Something which was utterly new to me, because when you come from art school, you don't take nice pictures. Nobody likes your pictures. You have to have this grand theory that people go, yes, very interesting. Now you've told us your whole monologue. Now I can finally understand what you're showing us. And my mum just said, "You don't take very happy pictures." I said, "No, I'm not trying to take happy pictures. Just listen to my theory." Yeah. "Well, I don't care about your theory." Well, so for the first time in my whole career, people said, "That's a nice photograph." Wow, I didn't know you could do that. So taking photographs of the children really became this new focus of mine. I need
in the setting of home.
In the
right?
setting of home.
Yeah.
In the setting of all these ridiculous things they get up to, and this incredible humor that they have without themselves, knowing that they're creating this humor.
Which you then, rightfully so, publish in the book.
That was
Later
at a later stage, yeah. So we were living at the house in Bosselommer, so not in the Ortelisstraat, but the one we owned was in the Troudingstraat, close to the Albert Heijn.
Yeah.
And the children were going to school. I was sort of crunching my way through all this image rights landscape, and yeah, I was really happy taking these photographs, and I felt everything I had done up until then was irrelevant,
Meaningless.
meaningless stuff. I quit photographing in black and white. It was like I was killing the color of my children if I would do that. I wanted to see them alive and sparkling and happy and totally different narrative. So my Brechtje, my wife, she wasn't that happy though. She wanted to go to her place she came from, which was Brabant,
Okay.
which sort of in this sort of 5-year period we were living in the other house, I felt an increase of belonging because the people I was meeting in all my endeavors were from all over the place. They were Dutch people, but they could. Somebody was from Colombia, but yeah, became a sort of Dutch citizen. And this chap was from the US, and he was from England, and he was from Iraq, and it sort of didn't really matter. We're just doing the same thing, and it was, and also on getting kids, all these people, all these parents coming from all over the place, with a nice idea,
Yeah.
or having an education here, or becoming an entrepreneur, or whatever the reason, they were all bringing some energetic thing to this city, and I'm doing the same thing. I'm also bringing something to this city.
With your own background and
Exactly,
experience.
Exactly. And I started really feeling this is the place I want to be. This is so nice. So I really feel at home in this city. So it became a tension between Brechtje and me, because she was looking more for a sort of villagey type place.
Going back home.
In a way, longing back home. So from an emotional point of view, we sort of made this agreement. Let's look for a sort of a homely environment, more village environment. But I really do not want to leave Amsterdam. I'm finding so much. I don't want to do that again. This is what I want to do.
And that's what you said, right? As of today, you don't want to leave.
No, I don't want to leave. There is no reason for me to leave. What am I going to find? What is the promise or the expectation of me becoming a fuller or wholer, more whole person, if I would uproot myself and try to plant myself somewhere else? What is the reason? Would be the reason for me to do that? And also, what was really interesting for me is to see how my children were developing. For example, developing their language, because they were different from me. They were now going to a Dutch school, or firstly, of course, going to a Dutch opvang, then having Dutch friends, going to a Dutch school, and learning language accordingly. Which words do they want to know, because they are learning how to relate to the environment, relate to us, relate to people, relate to food, relate to the dog, without the interference of needing to get to know another language or get to know another environment, where they need to know the whole environment first before they can start attaching words. So this whole development, I thought, was absolutely fascinating. And I think was really the start of me also wondering how does this feeling of home start evolving? Because they were now born and bred children from Amsterdam.
Amsterdammers.
Yeah. I was import, but they were born and bred. Now, the house was too small. Brechtje was not happy. I would have perfectly stayed there, I must confess. But due to her restlessness, because she was looking for a home as well, the neighbours at number 4 here, which have moved house in the meantime, number 2, they their daughter was my daughter's or our daughter's best friend at the opvang. So we started getting contact, and they thought, oh, wouldn't it be nice if we had them living on our little square? So they invited us on a nice summer day on a picnic table, and made it look fantastic. And you cannot believe it, but some of the houses, including ours, had been empty for more than a year. Nobody was living there. So I said, okay, you're right. Let's try it. So I wrote a really nice note with all my sales charm, which I'd sort of gathered in the meantime. Oh, with this lovely family, I want to see my children raised on your beautiful square. Hey. And
Wow.
yeah, 3 months.
Now you're here.
3 months later, they said, yeah, let's do it. So not long after, in June of that year, we moved house. We moved into this old place, which was in the original state of 1953. But you should have seen the children, how happy they were. So
I mean, look at that. There's a square. There's a playground. I mean, you probably all don't see this, but I'll share a shot in the video.
yeah,
It's somehow protected. It feels safe. Communal.
exactly. And the children can watch each other from the windows. Oh, yeah, somebody's on the square. Boom! And they would all sort of run out. And especially when the weather is good, spring and summer. And then we moved in June. So when we were there, the door would be open, and suddenly you'd have 12 kids in the house, depending on how much sweets you have, or if somebody has a new cat or something like that. And they'd just sort of shop around with this whole gang of kids, and then they'd go to the square again, and they would set their own rules and think up their own stuff. As parents, we were just, it was such a luxury just to have them playing. Of course, they need some drinks and some plasters, and needs to come in the evening. But I mean, as a photographer, this was really amazing. Because
It's also your playground.
it was my So I thought from moment one, my God, this spontaneity is something we lose as parents. So I started photographing them from the first moment on, and they got so used to me being sort of there as this hovering around with a camera.
Fly in the wall.
Yeah, completely. And when I needed to sort of test out new gear, I'd put the lighting equipment onto the square, and they'd automatically come. Oh, what are you doing? Oh, you've got this umbrella. What does it do? Is it a shower? And then, no, it's a light. Oh, really? Oh. And they'd sort of come into my photograph. They would sort of the photograph would create itself somehow. And I really felt, okay, I'm onto something. And also when I showed the photographs to somebody at Academie, the Photo Academie in Amsterdam, I sort of took new classes there because I wanted to liven up my own photography. I'm skipping a little bit. I made the decision, of course, to become a photographer and to stop my...
With a mission.
Yeah, well, also to stop my career in this image rights sector and to become a photographer, also with the backing of Brechtje, which was really quite a scary step. And I became a photographer at bol.com. So I completely fucked up as an entrepreneur in the first time round. It's seriously hopeless. So I wanted to do far too much, and my clients were too small, my invoices too low, and the time I spent too much, and so I worked myself into an absolute stupor. And so my dad had to bail me out, and he did, with the condition that I go look for a job. And that's when bol.com came around, and I made the campaign images for Bol. So I'd made the step, I'd made the transition to becoming a photographer, which felt so good. I was aligned again with the matter, with the process I wanted to be involved in. But what I did at Bol and what I did for myself they had no connection at all. So I went to art school again, to the photo academy, to do an extra course, and this guy was brutal. He said, all this stuff at Bol.com, huge commercial value. He said, it's all middle of the road, anybody can do that, and he all sort of threw it to the side, and he said, look at the fellow students, they're all looking at the other photographs. What's going on? And it's nothing. It's just my kids playing around. And he said, no, it's not nothing. This here something is resonating. That's the value. Which you can't see in any of the other photographs. This is your story going on. He says, draw a line around it. Start developing this. Write about it, talk about it, show it, and photograph everything that you can. So that's when I really started sort of defining it as a project. For the time I had left, because I could sense the children were growing towards a teenage period where they didn't really like me photographing anymore, which I think is really a shame, because they lose that frivolousness, the playfulness, and they just, Dad, stop it. So it didn't feel right anymore to do that. So that's when the project stopped. But in a way, it felt like it was right, because that is also what is sort of in psychology referred to as the formative years. That's when they end, when the softness, that playfulness, has become the synonym for being home. Mm-hmm. So this square has become their home, combined with the house, but their playground was the square, even more than the house was.
That's where the connections are and the friends. And
Exactly.
So home is where the friends are. Home is where the connections are.
Exactly, and the good memories and the rawness of the life that they felt most free. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Where connections were made, which was so meaningful. There's one of them now.
Coming back from school.
Coming back from school on his bicycle, yeah.
Beautiful. But I mean, making a jump as well. The archive, the selection, the series that you've created in the book, which is only a first version, but the overall idea behind the series is that it is also a testament, a celebration of, and also a reminder to your kids about what home is.
Yes.
Right?
That is one important component. What I also feel, I want to make a link somehow, maybe in future photographs, is that their ingredients for um, absorbing these memories, these friendships, these situations. Um, it's extremely basic. I mean, they would be running around on bare feet and just making guns from tubing, or everything was a game. It's an extremely universal movement.
Yeah.
This square is no different than a square in another city or another country,
No.
and this is an area I would really be interested in to see how squares in other places develop, which are similar in their safety,
Yeah.
and to follow children elsewhere.
Absolutely. I can also share examples with you, I mean, of public spaces and institutions working on these kind of spaces, shared spaces, same as the power of a bench, right? That we're using
exactly.
here. And but listening to your story and then listening to your work, where photography and searching for place has always been like in parallel, this work around revolving your kids in this square is also maybe a reminder to your own upbringing and to the steps that you've taken in life.
In a way, yes, but it's also extremely different. Because I didn't have a square like this. I didn't have a neighborhood or friends to go to.
Yeah.
Um,
That's more like a reminder of where you're from and what
yeah.
you found and been able to build.
Exactly. So the enormous contrast I see to my own sort of more complicated fabric, I feel a sense of great accomplishment also as a father to have been able to facilitate this. Also knowing that they value that period so much as well. And having done that, having facilitated that for them, and knowing how important it is for them, one of my greatest wishes that I have is to maintain the house, maintain the place, so that in future when they start looking differently onto or towards me, for example, when they have their own children, I want to have this house as this safe place they can always go back to, a place where they can ideally park their own children and say, "Hey, Opa, you want to take care of the grandkids? Kids? Yeah, bring them on." And I've got this lovely
Well,
place.
at least you have a playground then.
Exactly. But to have this outer look house, to me, this parental home has this magic ring to it. It's sort of this exaggerated longing for this root to be here. That there's this system, this bunker, this cave that holds firmly on the ground, rooted into this with these memories of the children, and with my rather passionate decision to do this against the storms and the odds that we were facing, and to use that one place that is always there, that we can move and search all around the globe or all within yourself, but there's always a safe place to go back to.
Is that the good place?
Yes, it is. It to me. Sorry, I'm emotional. It is indeed the good place. And it's it's become so personal, so intertwined with my life that, yeah, where could I go from here? There is no other place that I can go to that is going to give me those answers of the home I have given for my children. Neither will another place facilitate that history which I hope to prolong via becoming a grandfather. So the world is still this wonderful open place which I really hope to dive into and saturate myself with conversations, with impressions, with interaction, and seeing things in different ways by meeting different people. But being able to organize it and knowing that I have this place, that there is always this thing to go back to. I would really, I'm longing towards going to Kenya. I would really love to go back. As a photographer and as me as a searcher, to see how maybe go back to my childhood places I've lived. I would really like to go back to Rwanda as well. I'd like to go back to the UK, but maybe there are other places which resonate, which ideas or longings which I maybe don't even know about yet. But there's always this little stamp, little postzegeltje I can go back to.
Which is this beautiful square and place.
Yeah.
Jeroen, I'm going to say thank you as well for this beautiful story. It's not just a story, it's your life.
Yeah.
And also a nice realization of what a good place is. Sharing vulnerability. I think a lot of people are still searching for that little stamp. And I hope everyone finds it one day, right? In a physical place, but also in a spiritual way. Yeah. Normally at the end of every episode we ask you one question, like something you want to share or something. But we agreed that we want to use one of the cards, right? You have them on the right side. Yes, guys, self-promotion is here. It's our conversation cards. I can just give you a stack and you just pick one. It might be a question which is completely not in line with this beautiful story you just shared. But I think it's a nice addition. We definitely don't need conversation cards because we can take it away.
We have enough content.
But it's up to you. What does it say? And this is also because you're very much in favor of destiny. So whatever you pick is a destiny question.
Yes. If you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be and why?
Amazing. We couldn't have done it better than that.
Oh, that's so
Wow.
funny. Yeah. I think this whole story has been an answer to this question.
It's right where you are at this moment.
That's it. Yeah.
Thank you, Jeroen, for your time. These are yours.
Yeah, very nice.
Enjoy them. Maybe somebody else can also answer that question instead.
I'll give him to Brechtje and see what
Yeah.
she says.
I'm going to shake your hands. Jeroen, thank you so much.
And thank you for your invitation to do this. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. And I might revisit this conversation again on this square in a few years from now and see where you're at now.
Sure,
right?
sure.
Yeah. To everyone watching, thanks for your time. I hope you loved this very touching story. Please follow us on all our channels. You know where to find them below. And a lot to process here. And wishing you all a beautiful day. And see you in the next episode. Bye bye.